Hi friend, I have my my guide for the season here with me. I'll share a little bit more about him at some other point, but he'll be here. What I want to talk about today is the practice of honoring something that is alive inside of you through a process of alchemy. And what is alchemy? It is to take one thing, take something, and transform it, create something else out of that. And I mean, it's happening all the time inside of you. When you eat, the food that you eat goes through an alchemical process. It's happening in nature all the time, like the leaves falling to the ground and becoming nutrients and soil for the next season is a process of alchemy. And I have with me this quote by Julia Cameron that I absolutely love this quote. So she says, "Dipping directly into ourselves as source, we create something new that would not exist without us as its origin." Dipping directly into ourselves as source, we create something new that would not exist without us as its origin. And I, of course, created something out of that quote that I love, and I sat with it to really feel it in my body. And afterwards, so I sat with the felt sense of reading that, and I created from that. And then in retrospect, I could see it. Oh, all these tiny. So my son Ruben, he was like, "It looks like Christmas lights." It kind of does. Are these moments of gathering something and creating something new out of it. And this is something I've been doing probably my whole life with a big break. And it started as something I didn't do it consciously. And I want to show you the last thing I created when I was 16. And I kind of, after that, decided to not create things anymore. I'm just not going to do it. I created this mask. I'll show you this one. With the tears, the blue tears, and the red blood tears. I created it when I was 16. And it was, in retrospect, a huge transition for me, because it was when I left something that was really innate to me, something that came very naturally to me, creating, being creative. When I left it, in order to try to be normal and fit in and do what normal people do. So anyways, it's on my altar, and just, I love her. I love her. I love the person I was when I created this, and I love, I'm just like, she brought me here. She brought me to this point. Like, all her kind of detours and searching and confusion brought me to where I am today. So I am forever grateful for the young woman who created this mask. Anyways, fast forward like 20 years later, I was like, I want to start painting again. I remember I used to do that. So I took an arts class in mixed media, and then at home I created a series of paintings. I'm gonna bring them closer. So this was the first one. This was the first one I created. And then I made a slightly smaller one. And then this one. And here's the thing with this process of alchemizing what is present inside of you into something new, to create from that place. You could be like, you could create, be very aware of all the things that are alive inside of you. But for me, it's a very intuitive process. I am coming into relationship with what is happening inside of me. I'm in the raw material of that relationship, and I create from that energy. So it's not a thinking process of what is happening inside of me. It is very much a feeling and being present process. And then afterwards, I can begin to see what has been revealed. So when you create in this way, it's kind of like you're pouring the raw material that is present inside of you onto, it could be a canvas. That happens to be what I did in this during this time, but it could be anything else. It could be anything. You're pouring the raw material into something else. It becomes something else, and that is a reflection. It becomes a mirror of what is present inside of you. And then that mirror kind of reveals the beauty of your inner experience, no matter how difficult it might feel. So for me, it was like there is the same, I kept repeating the same, as you can see, there's like the same pattern. And in retrospect, it was like, I could feel that this pattern kind of symbolizes, of course, a pattern or something that was kind of covering what was really, what I was really feeling deep inside. Because there's a lot of things happening behind this pattern that is just like on the surface of the paintings. So that's what I did. That was kind of so it's 20 years. There's 20 years between the mask and these paintings. And these paintings then began to unlock this very natural process that is taking place inside of me, and I think is natural to all human beings. So I'm going to share a few other things that I've created. So I'm going to show you this one that I made when I was pregnant. So, I mean, it's a little bit broken because it was made for a baby and baby hands pull on things. But anyways, I was kind of just sitting and connecting with or pretty much I was just sitting on the threshold. I was sitting on the threshold, not knowing when is going to be the time for me to step into motherhood, because that's nothing that a woman can decide. Well, nowadays you can kind of schedule it, but I didn't do that. And I created this one. And again, it wasn't that, I was kind of just like feeling into the relationship that was starting to build between me and this baby that was inside of me. So there are tiny elephants. And in retrospect, those elephants kind of symbolize something in our relationship, or something that I wanted to bring into our relationship. For me, elephants are wisdom, and they're very earthy. They're very earthy, and they're grounded, and they're wise, and they are kind, and they kind of move quite slowly. And then there are clouds, like to have your head in the clouds, to be creative, to allow your mind to wander, to be in a state of wonder. What is this? And then the hot air balloons. For me, that symbolizes adventure, but also this kind of quite sort of slow both a slow ascent and a slow descent, and having a perspective of the larger field. So I made that during that transition. And then I have on my wall a macrame wall hanging. And this one was when I think it was when I stopped breastfeeding. I took a course in macrame, or it was shortly after I stopped breastfeeding. And then I made this one. And again, I was simply deep in relationship with that experience, which was a kind of experience of separation. And you might not see it, but they're not exactly the same. Like, they start looking the same, but then as you come down, they become different. And that was kind of the experience. There was this kind of separation happening, and we were still moving like in the same stream, but I also could feel that there was this differentiation happening. And that was, so by creating it, I'm taking that experience and I'm moving it from inside and out into the world. And at the same time, I'm honoring this huge transition that contained a lot of different flavors, emotions, and sensations. The other painting is made by, I think we were 8 or 9 women. So it was a friend of mine who surprised me for my 40th birthday with a weekend away with some women, friends, students, women I admire and look up to. And then at the end of the weekend, we co-created that painting outside in silence. And everyone poured a little bit of themselves onto that canvas. And it was such a beautiful process. So that was my 40th birthday. It might be, no, there might be that they happened at the same time. What else do I have? And then, of course, it doesn't have to be like this. Sometimes it's big creations. If it's a big transition, or it's something that's been with you for a long time, it might be that you really take your time with hand making something, or alchemizing it through hand making. But it can also be like this. I have like huge boxes of these tiny paintings, just tiny, that take a few minutes to make. And many of these I've made as I was kind of alchemizing inner criticism into authentic expression, which this is. It is taking the felt sense experience of hearing that inner criticism, and then creating something in relationship with that inner experience. Yeah. And it's such a healing process. It's such a healing, because it is that you're letting go of something, but you're actually alchemizing it, you're transforming it. And at the same time, you're honoring this place that you're in, or the place that you've been in, and you're honoring where you're going. But as I said in the beginning, it's not a thinking like, what should I create? It's a very intuitive, instinctual process. Was there something else I wanted to show? Well, I have another one that I created during the Samavesha Psyche module. I created this one. That kind of, what does this represent? I created this in relationship also with Toad Mother. So the Toad Mother she was guiding me all through the summer, and she was guiding me through the Samavesha Psyche module. And of course that was a it started with a real toad that lives in my garden, who I was communicating with. And then I had like a toad statue that was a symbol for her. And she was with me when I created this one. All the layers of psyche, all the layers of psyche. Now I feel again that I am going through a very, it feels like a a transition and a kind of returning. And I picked up this beautiful stick on my walk on autumn equinox. And today he told me it's time for the big canvas. So I have a big canvas. I mean, it's huge, this one. I bought it a couple of years ago, and it's just been waiting. It's just been standing there waiting. And now apparently it's time to take out the big canvas. And I don't know, I'll just share the transition I'm going through. So when Ruben was a baby, I was in a Parvati sadhana. And I wanted to sit inside. If you don't know, I have this really beautiful yoga shala in my house. I mean, yeah. And I wanted to sit there, but she kept kind of nudging me, or not really nudging me. She was like really telling me, go into the forest, go into the forest, go into the forest. And I went into the forest. And I remember at that time, I was like this, I wanted to lay my heart so close to the forest ground that I didn't know, like just like laying there naked with my chest against the ground was not enough. And what also happened during that time was like I took all of the tantric philosophy, all of my yoga practices, like everything I had been really pouring myself into and pouring into me, I just took it and I just threw everything out. And I wanted to be in the forest and I wanted to listen to the forest. And then this summer, or just recently, it kind of like, you know, when you're coming full circle and all of a sudden, all of these things came pouring back. And I was like, oh, this desire to, again, reach for those teachings. And I mean, I have my beautiful co-facilitators from Psyche, Colette and Libby, who was kind of, I don't know if they were nudging me in that direction, but anyways, there was just like this opening happening. And I want to return to that and bring with me all the things that the forest have taught me. And that inner experience is what I'm now going to pour onto that big, big canvas. I don't know what colors, I don't know what it's going to look like, I don't know how long it's going to take. Maybe it will take a day, a week, a month, a whole year before it's like the alchemical process is finalized. So that is to make something of it, to make something of whatever is present inside of you, to honor it, to allow it to transform, to allow it to move from inside into the larger field. Okay, much love.